Heartwarming Millionaire's incredible discovery of an elderly couple transforms lives. In the rain, Jack Thompson stood at the window of his high-rise office, the hum of the bustling square below igniting the familiar fire of ambition in his gut. Across the street, he often glimpsed the quaint flower shop owned by George and Martha. Their vibrant blooms were muted by the fading paint of the storefront, but the couple's love was as bright as the petals. Yet, Jack barely paused to consider their struggles, lost in the whirlwind of his own success, a self-made millionaire at 38. The stark contrast between his stylish suit and their worn-out shoes haunted him, but he pushed those thoughts away, fixated on the next business deal. Then came that fateful evening, when sheets of rain slammed against the pavement like relentless drums. Seeking refuge, Jack ducked into the flower shop, the sweet scent of blossoms wrapping around him like a familiar embrace. The warmth radiating from George and Martha filled the air, instantly lifting his spirits. As they greeted him, Jack was mesmerized by Martha's gentle smile, lines of laughter etched into her face telling tales of shared moments with George, who stood proudly beside her. "What can we get for you today, Jack?" Martha asked, her voice honey-sweet. I just need a moment to escape the storm," Jack stammered, suddenly aware of the sanctuary enveloping him. Wandering through the mossy rows of flowers, he noticed how every bouquet was a piece of a cherished memory, each petal a snapshot of their lives intertwined, a love story told through nature. As rain poured outside, Jack listened to George recount tales of their first days in the shop, the laughter shared over blooming daisies, and the challenges they faced as the world around them changed. The couple's resilience told a story louder than any dollar sign. Jack marveled at the deep roots they had planted, a stark reminder of what community and love could foster. Days turned into weeks, and Jack found himself returning frequently. Their bond grew, revealing layers of compassion and understanding. George and Martha had faith in their community, while the townsfolk's whispers about their struggling business filled Jack with guilt. He was a millionaire, and they were worn down. He was determined to help, but how? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One stormy evening, as lightning lit up the sky, Jack stepped toward a fateful decision. How could he tell the couple he wanted to buy their shop? The idea of simply saving their legacy felt wrong. He couldn't just throw money at the problem. They didn't see themselves as a burden. They were proud fighters, and the thought of taking over their business made Jack feel heavy in his chest. The swirling rain matched the storm inside him, and he realized the answer wasn't just in money. Inspiration struck him: a community fundraiser. What if they could rally the town around George and Martha? Could they transform the whispers of judgment into a resounding chorus of support? Jack felt exhilaration and trepidation. He would need to face both the people who whispered behind closed doors and the couple he cherished. The heart of his town was waiting for him to decide: would he step up to heal the deep rift, or would he retreat, weighed down by doubt? All he could hear was the relentless patter of rain, mirroring the heartbeats of a community yearning for connection. The days that followed were a blend of excitement and anxiety for Jack. He pored over ideas, sketching plans for the fundraiser on napkins during lunch, and utilizing his connections to rally local businesses to donate items for auctions and services. The vibrant tree outside his office, reflecting the changing seasons, drew his gaze more often. The red and gold leaves seemed to whisper encouragement, reminding him that transformation often required bold steps. One afternoon, Jack stood in front of George and Martha's shop, rehearsing what he would say. He could feel a knot forming in his stomach like a tight ball of yarn. The familiar chime of the bell above the door pierced the quiet, instantly welcoming him into their warm atmosphere. Martha looked up, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Jack, come in, come in. We have fresh orchids today," she called, her voice laced with love. "Hey, Martha." "George," Jack replied, forcing a smile while his heart raced. As the weather faded outside, creating a muted backdrop, the couple's presence beamed brightly. Jack took a deep breath, putting aside his insecurities. "I've been thinking," he started, his voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. "I want to do something special for you too. The business. The community. I think we can rally support." George's brow furrowed in confusion, and he exchanged a quick glance with Martha. "Support? We've made it work for years, Jack. We're fine." But the whispers, Jack pressed, invigorated by a sudden surge of determination. "I hear them. I see the challenges you're facing. I want to help team up to create something beautiful for the community. A fundraiser." The weight of his words hung between them, and the atmosphere shifted. George's face softened as he stroked his beard, while Martha reached for George's hand, squeezing it tightly. "Jack, we appreciate your concern." But Jack interrupted. "Let me explain. We could host an event. Local businesses could donate, and everyone could come together. It would not just help you. It'd re-engage the community, celebrating your hard work." George's expression began to change, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "You really think we can pull in enough support?" "I believe in you both," Jack insisted, "and I believe in this town. They need a reminder of what you represent." His pulse thumped with the thrill of possibility. For the first time, Jack saw the slightest smile play on Martha's lips. "It might be an idea worth exploring," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, but it was enough for Jack. "Let us do this together," Jack smiled. "You won't be alone. We can bring everyone together, show them the heart of this community." As they mapped out the plan, Jack felt warmth spread through him. Finally, he felt like he was in a place where his success could truly matter. The event transformed into a chance for connection, a movement of unity under the banner of friendship and love. Days turned into heavy planning. Flyers were printed, smiles exchanged, and hopeful chatter filled the air. They reached out to local businesses, artists, musicians. Everybody could contribute. The idea was blossoming just like the flowers around them. Yet, as Jack sat in the quiet of his office one evening, reflecting on the effort to come, a sense of fear crept in once more. Would the community respond? Would they come together in support? Or would it simply be another quiet event lost to poor attendance? His phone buzzed with a text from George, letting him know the first community meeting was set for later that week. It was time to take a leap of faith and face the uncertain depths. But lurking beneath the surface was a lingering question: what if the townsfolk turned their backs on the couple they'd known for years? Could Jack bear the weight of that disappointment? With a heavy heart and a mix of excitement and dread, Jack knew something extraordinary was on the horizon. Would their dreams thrive, or would they be met with the same apathy that silenced hope? As Jack gazed out at the glowing city skyline, he understood that storms could give way to rainbows, but only if he had the courage to face the winds head-on. The morning of the community meeting arrived, crisp and bright, the kind of day that hinted at new beginnings. Jack pulled on a flannel shirt, something comfortable, and made his way to the community center, his heart pounding with anticipation. As he walked, the vivid red and gold leaves scattered around his feet, and he felt like those leaves caught between the excitement of change and the fear of falling. When he stepped inside the community center, he noticed a mix of familiar faces and some new ones looking curiously around. Tables were set up, displaying local crafts and businesses, already hinting at the spirit of collaboration he had hoped for. A banner stretched across the room, hand-painted, reading, "Together for George and Martha." It was enough to make his chest swell with pride, but doubt still loomed in his mind. Letting the warmth of the gathering wash over him, Jack approached the front, where George and Martha were already setting up. George was busy adjusting a microphone, while Martha fussed with flyers, her eyes scanning the crowd with both excitement and a hint of apprehension. "Good to see you, Jack," George greeted, clapping him on the back. "You think we'll have a good turnout?" Jack swallowed hard. "I'm hopeful. I really believe they'll show up for you both." Martha smiled, but her expression was tinged with nerves. "What if they don't? What if we've lost touch with everyone?" Jack leaned closer, sensing the weight of her words. "You've touched more lives than you know." This event isn't just for you. It's a chance to reconnect. Let us think of it as a celebration of everything you've built together. As the clock struck 6, the chatter intensified, and people began to fill the room. Faces he recognized, neighbors, friends, even some who had drifted away, were talking and laughing. Sitting at the front, Jack felt the energy shift just as George opened the meeting. "Thank you for coming tonight." Just a few words as George spoke. Jack could see the spark of enthusiasm igniting in the crowd. Then Martha took the floor, her voice steady but excited. "We've been blessed to serve you all. But we need your help now. Let us come together for an evening of community and support." The room erupted with applause. Each clap felt like a warm shower, washing away Jack's lingering doubts. He stood and praised their ideas, urging everyone to get involved and share their thoughts. The air buzzed with excitement, the sense of purpose wrapping around them like a cozy blanket. But then, just as everything appeared to be flowing smoothly, Jack saw something shift. A group of former regulars from the shop, who hadn't visited in a while, stood at the back with arms crossed, watching the meeting with skeptical glances. Jack's stomach sank. What if they spoke up? What if they crushed the momentum? As the discussions continued, he noticed people began to approach the couple with contributions and ideas, their willingness sparking hope. But he couldn't shake the unease nesting in his heart. Questions thudded in his mind. Would they hold onto the spirit of togetherness, or would old wounds resurface to tear them apart? After the meeting, he planned to celebrate. But the confrontation was brewing in his mind, casting a shadow over the joy of the moment. As the night wound down, a familiar face approached Jack. It was Sarah, a woman whose family had known George and Martha for decades. Her expression was a mix of anger and hurt. "Jack, can we talk?" she said, her voice low but firm. Jack's heart raced. What would her words bring? Would they cut through the newly kindled hope? Would this be the moment he dreaded? "Sure. Of course," he replied, anxiety creeping into his voice. Could this conversation change everything they had worked for? Jack took a deep breath, his heart thumping as he followed Sarah away from the vibrant chatter of the community center and into the quieter corridor. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, mirroring the unease knotting in his stomach. He had hoped the evening would be a turning point, yet here he was, grappling with the shadows that seemed to linger. "What's on your mind, Sarah?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady despite the anxious flutter of his heartbeat. She crossed her arms tighter, and Jack could sense the storm of emotions brewing beneath her calm exterior. "You all seem so optimistic, but I can't help but wonder if you've really thought this through. What about the people left behind? What about those of us who felt unseen?" Jack winced. He had feared this moment, but he hadn't expected Sarah to voice it so plainly. "What do you mean?" he pushed, hoping for clarity amid his growing unease. "George and Martha were great, but they turned a blind eye to the struggles of some of us," she said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I remember a time we felt like a community. Now it's as if only some of us matter." Her words stung, striking a chord he was afraid to acknowledge. He moved closer, searching for the right response. "But this event is a chance to change all that. They're reaching out, we're all trying to reconnect. Change can't just happen overnight, Jack," Sarah replied, frustration creeping into her voice. "What happened to the days when we all felt like we could talk, share our problems? They may have meant well, but healing isn't just a banner and some applause. It's messy. It's complicated." His thoughts churned, grappling with her truth. He understood her pain. He saw it in the faces of those skeptics in the back of the room. "What do you want me to say?" he asked, almost pleading. "That everything will be fine? I wish it were that easy." "Maybe it starts with you," she said. "We need someone to listen, to hear our stories and acknowledge the hurt. If we skip over those feelings, anything we build will just crumble." Jack felt the weight of her statement settle deep in his chest. Could he really be the one to bridge that gap? The thought both electrified and terrified him. "I get that," he finally admitted, his resolve simmering. "But maybe this is all part of the process. We can't fix everything in one night." "I hope you're right," she said with a sigh, her stance softening just a little. I just need to know we're moving toward something real, not just some band-aid over our issues. Jack nodded, feeling an unexpected surge of determination. Then let us make it real. We need to start listening to all of us. Sarah regarded him, her expression shifting from anger to contemplation. I hope you do, because if we run away from our past instead of facing it, this community will never heal. It takes more than a meeting. It takes action, heart, and connection. As Sarah turned to walk away, a sudden commotion broke out in the meeting room. The buzzing voices quickly escalated into raised tones, the warmth of collective celebration now replaced by tension. Jack felt a jolt of urgency, a pressing need to step back into the fray. What's happening? He asked as he rushed back to the group, his heart pounding anew. The scene before him unfurled in chaos. The skeptical group had gathered around George and Martha, confronting them with accusations of neglect and isolation. Jack's stomach twisted into knots. But in that moment, he realized he couldn't stand on the sidelines any longer. With conviction igniting within him, Jack stepped toward the crowd, ready to assert the importance of every voice in the room, ready to confront the rifts he had only begun to understand. Could he find the right words to mend the cracks? Or would tonight's confrontation unravel everything they had built? Jack took a deep breath as he stepped into the cacophony of raised voices. The air buzzed with the intensity of confrontation, a storm gathering force. George stood at the front, visibly shaken, Martha clutching his arm, her face pale under the bright lights. "Why did you ignore us?" shouted one voice from the crowd, a man named Harry, whose brow was furrowed with anger. "We poured ourselves into this community, and you just brushed us aside." Jack felt his throat tighten. The accusation hung heavily in the air, and he could see the weight of it pressing down on George and Martha. The couple had always been the foundation of the community, but in that moment, they seemed small and uncertain. "Please just let us explain," George tried, raising a trembling hand. But the crowd was restless, voices rising like a wave. "Explain what? That you talk about connection while turning your back on half of us?" Sally chimed in, her disappointment palpable. "We wanted to help build something, but we felt pushed out for so long." Hearing the pain in Sally's voice sent a wave of uncertainty crashing through Jack. He glanced around, gaze darting between the faces he recognized yet struggled to connect with. Each expression held a story, a grievance, a lost connection. With a surge of courage, Jack stepped forward, breaking through the tension. "Everyone, please." His voice cut through some of the chaos, gaining attention. "I know it feels like we've been left behind. I get that. But this isn't just George and Martha's fault. It goes deeper than that. We all need to take a look at ourselves too." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some faces softened. Others remained hardened, stubborn. "What are you saying, Jack?" a woman in the front asked, disbelief flickering in her eyes. "You think those of us who feel ignored should just wait for things to change?" "No, that's not what I mean." He could feel his resolve building as he gestured towards the gathered faces. "What I'm saying is that this is a moment. It's a chance for us to open the floor to everyone's stories. I know life gets busy, our hopes get dashed, and it's easy to overlook one another. But we can't build anything real without everyone's voices included." George cleared his throat. "Jack's right. We've been out of touch. We thought we could just hold these events and everything would be better again. But we need to hear your stories. All of them." The crowd shifted. Some folded their arms, still unwilling to soften, while others leaned in, curiosity mingled with the lingering hurt. "Give us a chance," Martha pleaded, her voice fragile yet firm. "We want to hear you. We want to understand how we've let you down." Silence swept through the room. An opportunity hung in the air, fragile yet shimmering. Jack could feel the weight of it pressing down on them all. If they could just grasp it. Suddenly, a voice broke through the quiet. A younger woman named Lucy spoke up, tears brimming in her eyes. "I lost my job last year. I felt so alone, and when I reached out, I got no response. Felt like I was screaming into a void." Jack's heart sank for her. Lucy, he started, but she held up a hand. No, it's important. We all have these pains, these stories. But we never shared them, and we allowed frustration to build instead of connection. I just want this to be real, not just words. Jack nodded, recognizing the profound truth in her words. This was it. This was the breakthrough they needed. Then let us start here, he suggested, determination igniting in him. Let us take turns sharing. For us to heal, we need to be honest with each other and brave enough to listen. As he looked around, he saw a flicker of hope spread through the room. Many faces softened, ready to embrace the complexity of their shared experience. Would they have the courage to keep going, to confront their histories together? As they began to share, Jack felt a profound sense of possibility rising between them. And yet, beneath that hope, a small worry nagged at him. What if honesty uncovered more than they anticipated? He couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something much bigger than he had imagined. Would they be able to navigate the storm that honesty often breeds? Or would it sweep them all away? The first voice that spoke next was a deep, resonant baritone. It belonged to Thomas, a retired mechanic with a generous spirit. I guess I'll go, he said, his hands resting on the table in front of him, fingertips curled. I've lived in this town for 30 years. My wife and I opened our shop to serve you all. Then, one day, people started going elsewhere. It wasn't just business. It felt personal. I felt like I lost my place in the community. The crowd was silent, absorbing his words. Jack watched as Thomas's eyes clouded over with a mixture of pride and regret. I never wanted to compete. I just wanted to be a part of something. I thought my loyalty meant something. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jack could feel the tension easing, like a tight rubber band finally letting go. Next, a woman named Carla, who had volunteered tirelessly at community events, stood up. For me, she began, her voice breaking, it's about trust. I've devoted so much time and energy here. Yet, when I needed support, I felt invisible. I went through my own struggles, and all I wanted was someone to notice, to see me. It's exhausting to keep showing up when you feel like no one cares. There was a shift in the room. A collective recognition of shared struggles hung heavy in the air. Jack's heart raced. This was turning into a moment of connection. A tapestry woven with their pain and hope. Lucy wiped her tears and spoke again. I know it hurts to talk about this, but I senti that what we're here for? We all felt disconnected. Like the ties that should bind us are fraying. I wish we could just be a real family again. An unexpected laugh broke the tension when a middle-aged man named Scott said, well, some families fight like cats and dogs, but I get the idea. That drew a chuckle from the crowd, a momentary reprieve from the seriousness, reminding them of the camaraderie they once had. As more voices joined in, Jack felt the energy shift. Each story was like a thread, and together they were beginning to weave a new narrative, one of understanding and shared healing. He realized they were creating spaces for vulnerability, a rarefied atmosphere of empathy growing among them. But there were still those who sat on the sidelines, their arms folded, expression skeptical. Jack knew they were listening, but he couldn't ignore their silence. I see you all too, he said gently, locking eyes with a tall, thin man in the back, who seemed particularly guarded. Your voices matter too. What do you think? Silence descended again, thicker this time. The man looked uncomfortable, shifting in his seat as everyone's gaze turned toward him. You really want to know? He shot back defiantly, his voice low but steady. Then I'll tell you. This community isn't what it used to be. Feels like a ghost town. We've lost trust, lost hope. Everyone walks around pretending things are fine, but we're just covering the cracks. The honesty was like a slap in the face. Jack felt the gravity of that truth hanging in the air, and he sensed the tension tightening again. Different this time. You're right, he said, we've got some hard work ahead if we want to restore that trust. As Jack spoke, he wondered if their honesty would tear them apart or bring them together. Would this raw confrontation be the catalyst they needed for real change, or could it fracture their fragile beginnings? Let us not just share our grievances tonight, Jack suggested, trying to shift the energy once more. Let us find solutions together. What actions can we take starting right now? The discussion continued, and Jack felt a glimmer of hope. Yet, deep within, something nagged at him, a feeling that this was merely the calm before an even bigger storm. Could they truly hold together this newfound commitment? As the group raced through ideas, Jack's mind wandered back to the young man's words at the front. "We're just covering the cracks." Did they all realize that exposing those cracks could either set them free or crack the foundation entirely? A new sense of urgency filled the air as the night wore on. What would they uncover when they dared to look deeper? Together? The murmurs of conversation began to swell, voices overlapping, each person diving into the pool of possibilities, ideas splashing around like children at a summer fair. Jack could hardly keep up, but amidst the chaos, he felt a pulse of energy that hadn't been there earlier. "Why don't we create a community garden?" Carla suggested excitedly. "It can be a place for us to come together and work side by side. We can grow food, flowers, whatever we want." Thomas nodded, a spark igniting in his eyes. "I love that idea. It brings people out. It gives us a reason to share, to talk." We got the space down at the old park. Jack felt the shift. "Yes, let us plant more than just seeds. Let us grow relationships." Scott chimed in, his tone more reflective than the light-hearted banter from earlier. "I appreciate the idea, but we'll need more than just plants. We need activities for all ages, something to keep everyone engaged." The room buzzed with chatter as people threw more suggestions into the mix: a book club, potlucks, weekend movies in the park. Each idea led to another, weaving a fabric of potential that was starting to wrap around the room like a warm blanket as excitement swelled. Jack couldn't help but notice the tall man in the back. His eyes darted, still locked in skepticism, eyebrows furrowing deeper with every idea floated. Jack felt a twinge of urgency. This energy was fragile. "What do you think about these ideas?" he asked again, softer this time, hoping to bring him in. A moment passed. "I don't know," the man muttered, avoiding the eyes around him. "Sounds nice, but are we really going to follow through? How long before it's just another project that fizzles out?" The truth of his words hung in the air like a thick fog. Jack could feel doubt creeping in, cold and real. "We have to start somewhere," he replied. "Even if it's messy, even if it takes time. We've got to commit." Carla leaned forward. "Look, it doesn't have to be perfect. If we mess up, we try again. That's how we build trust. Together." Nods followed her words, as if a collective breath was being taken and held. Jack could see it, the moment where hope tussled with doubt. "Fine," the man said finally, his voice less guarded but still uncertain. "But I won't pretend everything will magically get better just because we start a garden." Jack smiled, sensing progress. "We can't promise magic, but we can promise effort and honesty. It's a start." For the first time that night, the man's lips curled slightly, revealing the tiniest hint of a smile. The room felt lighter as conversations sparked back up. Jack leaned back, watching the tide of hope wash over the crowd. He felt the warmth growing, drawing everyone closer. Still, the weight of the tall man's caution lingered at the edges. Could this really hold? Suddenly, Lucy stood again. "Can we set a date? Let us not let this sit idle for too long." "Yes. Let us meet next week to start planning." Carla agreed enthusiastically. Round after round, they set plans into motion, igniting the embers of possibility into flickering flames of action. With every decision made, Jack could sense the pull of a brighter future, but then recalled the cracks they'd acknowledged earlier. Would their efforts hold? Or would they crumble under the weight of the past? As the gathering wound down, conversations still buzzing, Jack felt torn. He was filled with anticipation, yet uncertainty niggled at the back of his mind. Could they really hold this bond? Jack breathed deeply, glancing at the tall man now mingling, albeit hesitantly, among the group. He had watched the transformation take hold, and it sparked a new determination within Jack. But then a voice echoed through the room, cutting through the chatter. "Just remember, when the storm comes, as it always does, we're going to find out how strong these roots really are, aren't we?" The weight of those words lingered, and Jack felt the room stifle, anticipation hanging in the air. Would they rise together, or would the storm reveal their true weakness? With hearts racing and uncertainty looming, they plunged into the unknown. As the crowd began to disperse, Jack felt the electric charge of excitement linger in the air. Conversations blurred into laughter and cozy chatter, people relishing the warmth of possibility. Yet, the tall man whose name he still didn't know remained at the edge of the group, hands thrust deep into his pockets. Jack's heart thudded. He wanted to reach out, to draw him closer to this whirlwind of hope. "Hey," Jack approached, his voice soft and inviting. "I didn't catch your name." The man looked up, momentarily startled, as though he had been lost in thought. "It's Eric," he said with a slight nod. Despite the stress etched on his brow, he held a presence of quiet strength. "Eric, I appreciate your honesty tonight," Jack said, trying to establish a connection. "It's important we don't ignore the tough realities." "Yeah, well, I just don't want to get hopeful for something that might not last," Eric replied, shaking his head slightly. "I've seen good ideas fall apart before." Jack could hear the weight in his voice, felt the history behind it. "What if we all commit to doing this together? If we all lean in?" Jack asked, knowing it was a long shot. "What if we support each other?" For a moment, Eric seemed to consider it. His eyes drifted back to the crowd, which was buzzing with life. The laughter, the shared cheer, it was real. Jack could see it tugging at something in him. "Maybe," Eric said, though a hint of skepticism still lingered. "But it'll take real effort from everyone. Not just talk." Jack's heart raced. "I promise we're in this for the long haul. We have to be." He offered a small, encouraging smile. "We need voices like yours." As the night began to wane, Jack felt a swell of determination. The garden project was not just about plants. It was about creating a space where cynicism could fade, replaced by trust and the kind of warmth that blankets a community. He could sense it, a change approaching. Over the next few days, the energy grew. Carla rallied the troops, sending out information about their first meeting. The prospect of digging in the earth, planting seeds, and nurturing them, not just the plants, but the community itself, filled Jack with a sense of belonging. On the day of the planning meeting, Jack arrived at the park early, taking in the swathes of green, the unassuming patch waiting for inspiration. The sun cast a golden hue over everything, igniting the vibrant colors all around. As others gathered, he felt a gentle swell of nervous excitement. Would people show? Would they all buy in? When they convened under an old oak tree, Jack felt a rush of gratitude. Each person brought something different, some lost in their own pasts but ready to share a part of themselves. The discussion flowed easily, words merging into ideas that twisted and turned, blossoming into plans. However, midway through, the door creaked open, and Eric stepped in, cautiously scanning the scene before him. The chatter fell to a hush at his arrival, and Jack felt a pang of apprehension. Then, with surprising boldness, Eric spoke up. "I've thought about this and I want to help. I can lend a hand with organizing things." Jack's heart soared. "That's fantastic. We need your input." The group erupted into murmurs of approval. Finally feeling tangible momentum, Jack's vision shifted from just a garden to a sanctuary, a place where roots would intertwine beyond the soil into the fabric of their lives. The laughter, the plans, it was all alive as nighttime crept in. Jack found himself gazing at the old oak tree, its branches extending like welcoming arms, embracing the community he hoped to cultivate. He whispered a silent promise that they would grow together, endure. But a distant rumble in the sky caught his attention, dark clouds forming at the edges of their new beginning. Could they weather the storm that always loomed? Would the seeds they had planted in hope stand firm against the gales ahead? As the first drops of rain began to fall, Jack stared up at the growing clouds, uncertainty creeping in once again. Would their roots hold strong, or would they bend and break when tested? Jack stood beneath the sprawling oak, rain beginning to patter against the leaves overhead. Each droplet felt like a weighty question, and his heart thumped in time with the rising storm. There was something about weathering that moment together that struck him. He could almost feel the embers of hope flicker just beneath the surface. As the drops turned into a steady rhythm, people began to scatter, seeking shelter from the sudden downpour. But he noticed Eric lingering, a shadow cast against the quaking light of the storm. Jack took a step toward him, the excitement of the earlier meeting now tinged with concern. "Are you okay?" Jack called, his voice raised above the din of rain. Eric shrugged, hands still in his pockets, but his expression was thoughtful. "Just thinking about the garden?" Jack ventured. Eric's skepticism was more apparent now than ever. "About how many times I've seen something bright turn dark." Eric moved closer, his brow furrowing. "I want to believe this can be different, but it's hard. I've seen so many people. They start with passion and then it fizzles out. I don't want to be part of that again." Jack's heart ached at the pain behind Eric's words. He stepped closer, hoping to bridge the gap. "I get it. I really do. But maybe this time can be different. Maybe we can start building something real together." "Real?" Eric echoed, his voice almost lost in the roar of the rain. "I hope you're right." A group of children rushed past them, splashing in puddles with joy and laughter. Seeing their unbridled enthusiasm brought a smile to Jack's face, and he turned back to Eric with renewed determination. "We can be like them. We can bring back that sense of wonder. It doesn't have to be just another project. It can mean something." At that moment, a vision of what could be flashed in Jack's mind: families planting seeds together, kids laughing as they played amongst the daffodils, and people sharing stories under the shade of the oak. Yet, uncertainty shadowed Eric's face. "I'm not sure everyone will feel that way. It might just be wishful thinking." "Maybe," Jack conceded. "But wishful thinking can grow, just like those seeds we'll be planting. Don't you see? If we can nurture that hope, it might catch on." Still, Eric studied Jack with a critical eye, mulling over his words. "You really believe this can work?" "I do," Jack replied, feeling the weight of his own convictions. "And you can help make it happen. Your experience, your voice, it all matters." Just then, a strong gust of wind swung through the park, rattling branches overhead and causing the leaves to dance wildly. Jack felt a shiver run down his spine. Did the world outside reflect what was churning inside them both? Before Eric could respond, a flash of lightning illuminated the sky, and the air buzzed with intensity. Then, just as suddenly, he laughed, a light, unexpected laugh that broke through the clouds of doubt. "Okay, Jack, let us get to work then. We'll see if your wishful thinking can hold up against my skepticism." Jack beamed, the tension breaking like the clouds overhead. "That's the spirit." As they moved to join the rest of the group, the rain began to taper off, leaving the air fresh and alive. Maybe the storm hadn't just brought uncertainty. Maybe it had cleansed the ground for what was to come. But as they turned to walk back to the gathering of hopeful faces, Jack began to feel another change in the air, a shift he couldn't quite place. Was it the lingering scent of rain, or was it something deeper, something that whispered of change yet to unfold? As the last of the rain fell, he was left wondering. What other storms might rise to test their resolve? Would they stand together when the real challenges appeared? The sun peeked out from behind the retreating clouds, casting a golden glow over the park. It felt like a breath of fresh air, a warm embrace that hinted at new beginnings. Jack stood with Eric among the small crowd gathering in the grass. The aroma of wet earth filled the air, mingling beautifully with the sweet scent of flowers and the lingering hope that hung like a soft blanket over them. "Today," Jack began, addressing the group with a spark in his eye, "we plant more than just seeds. We plant trust, connection, and love." He felt nerves flutter in his belly, but it was a hopeful kind of nerves, the thrill of purpose. The crowd erupted into applause, a beautiful symphony of anticipation rising above the gentle rustle of branches swaying in the breeze. Faces, both familiar and new, lit up with tender kindness, a hopeful commitment to make this garden more than just a patch of earth. Jack noticed Lucy standing near the front, eyes bright with excitement. She was the first to step forward, offering her hands to help, her enthusiasm contagious as they began to dig, hands working tirelessly to turn the soil. Laughter bubbled up everywhere. Carla coordinated the young ones, laughter echoing as they made mud pies, although her gentle guidance kept the spirit light while they worked hard together. Jack's heart swelled with joy, inspiration igniting him anew. Eric stood nearby, sketching the layout of the garden on a piece of paper, a contemplative look dancing on his face. Jack observed him, delighted by the transformation unfolding before his eyes. "What do you think?" Jack asked, wiping sweat from his brow as he approached. "It's different this time," Eric admitted, a hint of wonder threading through his voice. "I didn't think people would show up like this." "It's the connection," Jack replied, echoing the feeling wrapping around them like sunshine after rain. "We're all tired of the storm, the loneliness. Today is about us." The sun climbed higher, casting a warm glow that sparked life in every budding flower. As they worked, deeper conversations began to blossom among the neighbors. Stories of struggle and resilience flowed like a gentle stream, each shared experience carving roots deeper into the soil. As the setting sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, their small plot began to take shape, a beautiful, cohesive design, symbolizing their community. It became clear, this garden was their shared heartbeat. From the sidelines, George and Martha watched, tears glistening in their eyes. The couple had stepped back, allowing their community to find its voice again. "Look at them," Martha whispered, her heart brimming with pride. "They're breathing life back into this place, just like we did long ago. We just needed to listen," George replied, his voice thick with emotion. Then Jack noticed their silent gathering. He approached them, heart pounding, ready to embrace raw gratitude. "You both started this. It's your love that built this community. Now, together, we're carrying it forward." Martha beamed, and George nodded knowingly. "It's the only way, son. Together." Later, when the last shovels were put down and the laughter faded into the soft evening glow, Jack knew they were just beginning. The challenge of commitment loomed ahead, but the storm had taught them that together, they could weather anything. As the group began to disperse, the air buzzing with camaraderie, Jack felt the buzz of hope settle deeply in his chest. He knew that there would be challenges ahead, uncertainties waiting like shadows trying to creep back in. But as he looked around, he realized they had built something worth protecting. Jack felt an arm slip around his shoulder. It was Eric, scruffy and resilient. "You think we really did it?" he asked, eyes glinting like the stars beginning to twinkle above. With a wide smile, Jack nodded. "Yeah, we've just begun." And looking at George and Martha, witnessing them embrace each other, Jack felt something shift inside him. He understood, now more than ever, that the true wealth in life came from nurturing these roots of connection. With hope reignited and hearts entwined, they could rebuild, together, creating a legacy that would blossom into something beautiful. Jack could already see it in the future: the garden, and so much more, thriving against storms of any kind. Together, he whispered, a promise to himself and to the community. Always together. As the night deepened, the air was filled with stories, laughter, and love, the essence of their transformed lives intertwining in a radiant tapestry. Now, more than ever, it was clear. They were family, and this was just the beginning. Don't wait, not even one more second, to share this transformation. You need to subscribe now to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Hit that like button right now to feed the algorithm. And comment below your thoughts and feelings about this incredible ending. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring journey. This is the moment to show your support.